at 9 a.m. And this is a special meeting of the Board of Fire Commissioners. Do you want to make any? Let's have roll call and flag salute.
Ibarra.
Here.
Glazier.
Here.
Hara. Stand by. He needs to unmute himself, or I request, because he's still out there at Drew. Commissioner Hara.
Okay, I'm here.
Gotcha.
I can mute and unmute myself, so I'll do that rather than you muting me.
Got it. Thank you, sir. Ninberg.
Here.
Woods Gray.
Here.
Fire Chief Terrazas.
Here.
And City Attorney Raffish.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, great. Thank you. So let's proceed to flag salute and 1 minute silence.
Thank you, Madam President. If everybody would please stand, right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silence in honor of past and present members of the Los Angeles City Fire Department who devoted their lives to the protection of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go any further, Leticia, do you want to make some comments about making comments for the meeting, and also just making sure that everybody knows that we need to finish today's meeting by 10 because all the commissioners have a hard out by 10.
Okay.
Can you make a public note about making comments to the public?
Just want to refer everyone to Agenda 2 item in the agenda for calling in and the public comment feature. If via telephone, which you probably already hear, but it's 1-669-900-9128. The meeting ID 856-0018-1321. And you will be timed, and I will let you know when your 2 minutes are up. Please raise your hand and unmute yourself if you're able to. If not, I will request so you can comment accordingly. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So let's start with commissioner comments. Okay, none? Let's move on to report of the fire chief.
Thank you, Madam President. On December 28th, I attended a press conference at Fire Station 4 with the mayor to announce the start of our vaccination program for our firefighters. As of last week, we're at about 60%, and we do anticipate we'll have slow incremental improvement in the coming weeks. On January 5th, I took a tour of the San Fernando Park vaccination site. Very well run. Chief Fortman is head of our COVID division, and his staff and himself have spent countless hours working on COVID, and that work continues. I talked to Chief Fortman each day over the weekend, and it's expanding. On January 8th, I filmed a video in honor of Martin Luther King Day, which was yesterday and aired on Channel 7. It was nicely done with all the various participants saying very nice things about Dr. King's impact on themselves and their organizations. Last Friday, January 15th, I attended a Dodger Stadium press conference with the mayor and the governor and the president of the Dodgers, Stan Kasten. We were there to announce the opening of the Dodger Stadium super site for vaccinations. We started off with about 3,000 on Friday, and then today we have 6,000 vaccinations scheduled. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda items. And I just want to, before we do that, I do want to note that one of the consent agenda items is retirement of, yes?
Madam President, excuse
Yes,
me.
yes,
I was
yes, yes.
having a little, I thought I had unmuted myself and I turned on the video, but forgot to mute. I just wanted to commend the chief on his presentation on Channel 7 yesterday, because I did see it and it was good to see that you were included. That was a good program. And also, I have enjoyed the fire department's Instagram programs. Those are really nice, and I hope that they'll keep coming. Thank fire. I'm not sure what her status is, but Stuart. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So moving on, we were talking about the consent agenda items. I wanted to make sure that everybody saw that one of the agenda items is the retirement of the captain badge in honor of Captain George Roque, who unfortunately he passed away from COVID, one of our members, and we will adjourn in his memory in about an hour. So, but it's a consent agenda item because I know that nobody's going to oppose that. But do I have a motion on the consent agenda items?
Move to adopt the recommendations for items 3A through 3G.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Jimmy
Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Do we need to vote individually, or can we vote do a voice vote?
I would recommend a roll call vote.
Okay.
Farah?
Aye.
Glazier?
Aye.
Hara? Commissioner Hara? We'll come back. Commissioner Ninberg?
Aye.
And Jimmy Woods-Gray, Commissioner Woods-Gray?
Aye.
Let me attempt to assist Commissioner Hara. Commissioner Hara, we're requesting a roll call vote for the...
Aye.
Thank you, sir. I know there's a
Once
little
again,
delay.
Yeah, once again, I can unmute myself and mute myself because apparently I keep getting muted by the host.
Okay.
Not me.
I think it's happening automatically, but because he's on the phone instead of on a computer, President Ibarra, that's what's occurring.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Motion passes.
Thank you. So moving on to the regular agenda items, the first two are closely related. One of them is a verbal report by the department on the current status of the COVID-related hospital surge and department mitigations. And number two is, or B, is a report requested by Commissioner Glazier regarding report on department wall time. And obviously those are very closely related right now. So I would recommend that we take those up together, and also in the interest of time today. Who's presenting in, on behalf of the department? Is it Dr. Eckstein?
Yes, ma'am, Dr. Eckstein.
Okay.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners, Fire Chief, City Attorney, Dr. Mark Eckstein, the Medical Director, EMS Bureau Commander.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is well. The EMS Bureau has been working with department leadership and a number of stakeholders, Department of Health Services and the hospital community, to address the unprecedented surge that we've encountered over the last few weeks. Certainly the overcrowding situation in the capacity of the hospital ICUs and emergency departments with overflow into the disaster tents has had a significant impact on ambulance availabilities since the emergency departments have been over capacity and attempting to divert ambulance traffic. This has impeded our paramedics' ability to transfer care of patients. So we've instituted a number of mitigation strategies to address this, and we have a number of these in place. And we've partnered with DHS to enact policies almost on a daily basis to mitigate this impact. We currently have staff an additional person when we can at Metro Fire Communications for situational awareness, keep an eye on ambulance status, tracking down ambulances to make sure they're available. And we also have codified a system in the CAD to automatically have the dispatch of an EMS battalion captain to the hospitals when we have 3 or more ambulances unavailable while waiting to offload patients, so-called wall time. We also have developed programs where EMS captains can notify a Department of Health Services through the Medical Alert Center to place hospitals on diversion. We've allowed our members to transport stable patients up to 30 minutes to find an open emergency department. We've created different diversion criteria where it used to be whether the hospital is open or closed to ambulance traffic. It's now delineated into whether they're open to advanced life support patients, basic life support patients, or us as a provider agency can place a hospital on diversion if we feel that they're open to ambulance traffic, but they really don't have that capacity. We also are codifying a policy if we need to place holding cots with department resources to allow ambulances to go back into service. And we've also implemented our ambulance EMS surge plan, which we developed a few years ago, whereby when we get below critical defined thresholds of ambulance availability in various parts of the city, and this is based upon real-time GIS mapping that we have at MFC, also command staff has available on their iPhones. The floor captain notifies the chain of command, and we shut down fire companies and staff up reserve ambulances. So the culmination of these and other mitigation efforts have enabled us to get through this surge. And the preliminary numbers from last week show that ambulance availability has increased, and hospital emergency departments now are on diversion on a lower percentage than they were. At its peak, this problem was 90% of emergency departments in the county were closed to ambulance traffic, and we had some of our ambulances waiting up to 8 hours to transfer care. I'm pleased to say the numbers are going to markedly improve next week, and I'm optimistic that this will continue to head in the right direction. So that's just a very brief overview of some of our mitigation strategies. Again, it's a collaboration with stakeholders, with the county health services and our hospital partners, and obviously each facet of our department to get through this unprecedented challenge to provide EMS services to the community of Los Angeles. I'm happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Thank you. So you referenced that you will, you're going to use department resources to have cots. Do you mean like outside of hospitals so that you can offload them there instead of having the resources waiting until they're admitted into the hospital? Is there any? I mean, that's was there a reason why we couldn't do that before this, the COVID surge?
Yes, Madam President. So let me further elaborate on that item. So the current iteration is when one ambulance is waiting to transfer care. It's one patient per ambulance with 2 members monitoring one patient. So the basic concept is we got approval from the county to allow up to have one engine company, which is 4 members, monitor 5 patients, or 2 members from an ambulance monitor up to 4 patients. Obviously, patient safety is paramount. We went ahead and we had purchased safe cots to deploy to the hospitals. The logistics are very complex, and obviously patient safety is paramount. The concept is that we would, if we get to a point where we had multiple ambulances down for an extended period of time at a hospital with really no ETA to transfer care, and that was adversely impacting our rescue ambulance availability in a particular area of the city, then the EMS captain on scene at that hospital would call the floor captain, who would then call the station to deploy these holding cots, and then they would determine based on the coverage needs of the city whether an engine company or ambulance would remain to watch several patients. Other logistics is we have to make sure that we have adequate oxygen supplies because most of these patients have COVID pneumonia and have very, very high ongoing oxygen demands. So there's basically legal questions, labor issues, logistics, patient safety issues, county issues, and we were able to fast track this program to get it going. But this is clearly a potential mitigation strategy of last resort, because at the end of the day, we're holding fire department resources at a hospital in the ambulance bay or in a disaster tent to monitor patients due to the hospital's inability to accommodate patients that we transport. But again, our primary mission is to provide coverage to the city to respond to 911 calls, but we also have to make sure we have a safe transfer of care and patients are properly monitored at the hospital until the staff at that emergency department can safely accept those patients.
So it sounds like you have emergency authority to do this, but ordinarily you would not.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Are we still diverting resources to do testing?
We have ongoing, not for testing right now. We have very, very limited testing of on-duty members, but we have companies being rotated on duty to get vaccinated.
No, I mean, are we still running the test sites with a bunch of our members?
Yes, we have a number of individuals that have been detailed to the COVID division, some of whom are doing testing, others are facilitating vaccinations, but most of the test sites are being transformed over to vaccination sites. So the short answer to your question is we are not closing down on-duty resources for testing or vaccines at this time. We have members who are been detailed to the COVID division to facilitate those tests.
Right, but we're closing down, we're converting engines into patient monitoring, or we're shutting down and spinning up emergency ambulances because we're running out of resources. To your point earlier, which is that our primary mission is coverage, given the and let me say, it sounds like you're making the best of a really difficult situation as far as responding to the surge goes. So that is, I appreciate those circumstances, and it sounds like you're doing a wonderful job of meeting a really difficult need. So at the same time, it seems like we're making our own life harder by, we could have people who are diverted to, with detailed or not, if they're staffing testing, why aren't we pulling them back to deal with the surge?
I can answer that, Commissioner Glazers, the chief. We do have people committed to the testing and vaccination effort. It's approximately 100 people. They all report through Chief Fortman. We do have 15 sites set up throughout the city. One of those sites is Dodger Stadium. CORE has about 800 or 900 people, as well as USC, Curative Labs, and others. It's really a collaborative effort to sustain the testing and vaccinating. We're doing it because the city doesn't have a health department. It's the county health department. And if we didn't do it, it wouldn't happen. So back in March of last year, Mayor Garcetti made the decision that we needed to get into testing. And in the last few weeks, we've transitioned some of the sites, 4 parks and Dodger Stadium, into vaccinations.
So I understand the history pretty clearly. I guess I'm wondering is, if we're having a surge and we're running short and we're shutting companies down to do patient monitoring because we have, there's no choice there. Why aren't we taking a break from having members on testing and putting them into the field so we're not sacrificing coverage?
Well, to your first point, taking COTS is a rare event to an emergency room.
I understand. So we're in a rare event right now. Why aren't we pulling off the testing and staffing coverage during this rare event.
We don't
We can go back.
we don't have any ambulances out of service. All our ambulances are fully staffed every day.
But you're taking, Dr. Eckstein said they're taking engine companies out of service to be able to do patient monitoring, which I understand his rationale. It makes perfect sense.
On rare occasions, we will dispatch fire companies to release ambulances so they can go back into the system, only until hospital staff can take the patient.
So during those rare events, why aren't we pulling people off of testing so that we don't lose coverage?
We can't staff any more apparatus than we have, and they are staffed. We are running some vacancies because our members are in COVID isolation. We have some members engaged in testing and vaccinating. We only have so many firefighters to go around, and we're stretched thin.
Right, but we spin up reserve apparatus on an augmented staffing day. I mean, we could be spinning up reserve apparatus if people are going out, but we've got 100 people on a testing site. And I'm saying, to your point, it's a rare event, so we're talking about a few days here and there. But what I am worried about our primary mission of coverage.
Commissioner, I share your concern. We do have to support the vaccination and testing effort. If we don't, it's not going to work.
Right, but if this is a temporary event, why not shut down our involvement in the testing, keep the vaccinations going, shut down the testing for the days where we are, why isn't that part of the surge plan here?
These temporary events are not days. These are 30 minutes to a couple of hours.
Doesn't sound like it. I mean, if we're talking about people sitting in hospitals for 8 hours, that's not a couple minutes.
It varies. There's a whole spectrum of time that our companies will have to be there. I'm not aware of the number we've done it so far. We can collect that data to find out.
So we have a surge plan that involves, even when it's a couple of hours, where we say, hey, we're going to close down an engine, convert them to ambulance, or close down an engine and move them over to monitor patients. Why can't that involve pulling people out of the testing site for that period of hours?
Commissioner, the people dedicated to testing and vaccinations are fully engaged 6 days a week. By the time we pulled them from that location and got them to the hospital, that event would be over.
Well, look, I feel like we're getting some conflicting information then, because it sounds like what I'm reading and hearing is that we have ambulances sitting there for 8 hours at a time, or circling for 8 hours at a time. So it doesn't seem like it's a period of minutes. Dodger Stadium, if that's where we're doing our testing, is not that far from county, from any number of places where I could see us having lots of patients. So what I'm asking you to do, and if the rest of the commission disagrees with me, fine, so be it. But what I'm asking you to do is include in the surge plan that you would pull people off of testing sites when you have a criteria that requires you to put engine companies on patient monitoring duties.
Commissioner, we'll look into that. If we pull people from the test sites they've scheduled in advance, we're not going to be able to vaccinate or test because we don't have the staff, because in your suggestion, we're going to move them to the hospital. But we will look at that. The first step I'll take is to see how many times do we have we deployed engines to take cots to emergency rooms.
Okay, look, the vaccinations make sense to me. Keep the vaccinations going, but I don't know why we would sacrifice coverage for testing at this point. If we have this many people, so look into it. I imagine by the time I hear back from you, the hopefully the emergency will have passed. But it just, again, I'm repeating the words that Dr. Eckstein is saying, that our primary mission is coverage for emergencies, and we have to do the patient monitoring. We can't abandon patients. That is where the emergency is. I get it. Again, I think Dr. Eckstein and EMS are doing a fabulous job of managing to that emergency. I don't understand why we would be diverting resources to testing when that becomes the clear and present emergency. So you can look into it and let us know.
Yeah, Commissioner, a final thought on that. Our mission is to protect lives and property. It's very, very large category. That includes vaccinations and testing.
I'm not referring to vaccinations. I'm referring to testing, and I'm saying when we have an emergency, something's got to give. And so just as you triage, I would expect a triage situation here. It does not make sense to me to have people on testing when we have ambulances circling 8 hours and we're shutting down engine companies. So again, you can think about it, but that there is an order of priorities here. And it's a bad situation for making priorities. So again, I will leave it there.
So I think this is Commissioner Ibarra. There are multiple emergencies at issue right now, and there's urgent just work that needs to be done. One of them is, of course, continuing the testing, but also vaccinations. Like, that cannot happen fast enough. And also, we need to attend to the fact that, you know, we have the surge in the hospitals, and also that we have a lot of members that are actually out right now because they are experiencing, you know, symptoms of COVID, or they've been exposed to COVID. So as we started off saying, the department is actually acting under emergency authority to handle all of these emergencies. I don't know how the city could do better, given that we don't have a public health department, and all of those responsibilities fall on the fire department right now. And I don't think our plan is unreasonable. I wish that we had gotten more support from the federal government, both for staffing and for vaccines and for testing, just a number of things. But this is where we are, and I think we're doing the best we can. That's my observation about this. Do we have any further comments, or do we have public comments? I know that Fred Escobar has a comment.
I don't see a hand raised for 1-805-105. Let me ask to unmute, and we can go from there. Escobar, can you hear us?
You might be having technical problems.
That's what it looks like, because I don't see a hand raised on my display of participants, and I've asked to unmute. Let me try one more time, President Ibarra.
Sure.
No, we're on time limit, but okay, he disappeared from my participants list. I have 39 right now. Let me see.
He's saying, I'm trying to raise my hand.
There it is.
But
now
I don't
he
know.
is. Now he did. He did.
Okay.
Stand by. And Carr, if you can unmute him on your end. Because once the meeting starts.
Good.
Hello, how are you? Good morning. Good to see you, hear you.
Good. All right. Good morning, everyone. And I know we're on a time limit, so I'll get straight to the point. Freddie Escobar, President of United Firefighters of Los Angeles City, representing over 3,400 brothers and sisters of the LAFD. And I just want to remind the Commission, Chief Terrazas and Chief Eckstein, that even though it's an emergency, there's still meet and confer items that he has to, by law, come to the table. He doesn't arbitrarily have the right to put and implement anything he wants that affects us on a daily basis. On the second item, with Commissioner Glazier and addressing his issue, he is right. The members I represent are tired, they're exhausted, and they're doing way too much. And what I am getting from him is that the field needs to be the priority, and that vaccination needs to take a back seat. And if that's his wish, then I will reach out to the mayor and go against the mayor's wish. The mayor has directed the fire department, and I've spoken with Chief Terrazas, to move forward on vaccination and have a plan set. But I understand Glazier's position, and I'll make it loud and clear to the mayor's office that his goal and his intention is the field, the priority, and go ahead and take the priority out of the mayor's office and make it secondary. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any further comments?
Yeah, I continue to be misquoted. What I referred to was testing, not vaccinations. So it's fun to misstate and twist my words. What I said was, why are we spending time on testing right now in an emergency, and why isn't part of our emergency plan to pull people off of testing, leave the vaccinations going, get those going as fast as we can, but make sure that we have the coverage we need. So I want to be sure that President Escobar is not misquoting me when what I said was, why are we diverting resources to testing when we have this emergency? Why isn't part of our surge plan to pull people off of testing during the temporary surges? So I want to be sure everybody hears me on this, especially President Escobar, on what I'm saying there. And yes, coverage when we have an emergency, coverage in the field should supersede testing, not vaccinations. Vaccinations may continue. I agree, important to continue the vaccinations. So I hope that clears that up for him.
Do we have
Madam President, may I respond to that briefly?
Sure.
The LA County Department of Public Health, Dr. Ferrer, requested the mayor's office to continue testing. It's a high priority with public health. So we're trying to meet their request, at the same time address increasing vaccinations. So we're trying to do it all, basically, because the experts have asked us to.
Thank you. Do we have any further public comments, or can we vote on both of these?
Let me double check for raised hands, President.
Thank you.
36 participants. I see no hands raised.
Okay, thank you. So we don't need a vote on the first one, but we do need a vote on 4B, to receive and file. Do I have a somebody moving? 4B.
We didn't really specifically go over the wall time report. I understand they're related, but the wall time report was related to actually normal operations.
Okay, well, we don't know when we're going to resume normal operations at this point, because we're in a pretty big surge for the foreseeable future. So do you just want to continue it until some other time when we're normal?
Sure. Why don't we have the wall time discussion then in another, let's call it 120 days.
Okay, thank you.
And President Ibarra, maybe at that time, the wall time discussion could include what's going on while we're in the COVID-19 period, the pandemic, since the pandemic has started, because there probably is a very different picture. But we could at least have it on paper to know what it is.
Okay, so basically you want a written report instead of the verbal report that we just heard. Is that what I'm understanding? Is that correct, Commissioner Woodsgrave?
I was asking for a written report. Yes, I was.
Okay, because we just had a verbal report.
The other one was verbal.
Yeah, it was a verbal report.
I really would like to see the data and know exactly what is going on, and and see it. Yes.
Yeah, gotcha. You need data. Okay, got it. Okay, so moving on.
I have a comment.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Commissioner Nimberg here. First, I want to commend the department. You have done an extraordinary job responding to these unprecedented times. And to Commissioner Glazer's point, what would be involved with subcontracting during these times? I don't know the process. I know that there's a meet and confer or whatnot, but what exactly, just to make sure that we do have coverage. So is that even a possibility?
Madam President, for purposes of the record, it might be helpful to, again, identify which item is being discussed. I don't think there's been any official vote or action taken on either of the two items. So, it just might be helpful because folks just keep adding comments. So at this point, it would be helpful to know which item is still before the body for discussion.
So okay, just to be clear, I had suggested that we take 4A and 4B together because they're related in regards to wall time at hospitals and the hospital surge. Commissioner Glazer would like to continue the report on the wall time for 120 days until we hopefully will at that time be in some sort of normalcy. So right now we're only discussing A, which is the verbal report that we just heard from Dr. Eckstein concerning the surges at hospitals and the emergency authorization under which we're operating and deploying resources. So to that point that's what I'm understanding Commissioner Nimberg to be adding, because usually we do public comment at the end. We've already heard public comment from President Escobar. So Commissioner Nimberg, you want to add to 4A, correct?
Yes, 4A.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to conflate the wall time with the verbal report, but I'm just wondering what the options are. Are there options even, to Commissioner Glazer's point, are there options to either subcontract just the testing, not the vaccinations, just the testing, certainly during these times? These are unprecedented times. And if people are already working 6 days a week, is it just on testing? I'm not sure.
So I'll let Chief Terrazas answer that.
For sure.
But I also just want to say that in 30 minutes, we're going to hear from the mayor on, addressing the commissioners and some of these topics. But I also think that we're going to have a new administration in Washington, and hopefully I think the hope is that there's going to be more resources for states and localities to deal with some of these things.
And a federal plan.
Yes, and a thorough federal plan. So, I think, all of this discussion is good. It's interesting, but it might change dramatically in a week. But Chief Terrazas?
Yeah. I'm just wondering, I don't know what the process is, so.
Commissioner Ninberg, were you asking, could we subcontract? What aspect are you referring to?
The testing, just the testing. Because you already have, you said CORE is there doing testing?
We use it's really a partnership. We have 15 sites within the city. 4 sites provide vaccinations, plus Dodger Stadium. Those 4 sites actually do half testing and half vaccinations. Dodger Stadium is all vaccinations. Our primary role is logistical support at all 15 locations throughout the city. That means cones, shade, porta potties, organization, project management, organizing the delivery of the vaccines every day, having the refrigerators, the appropriate refrigerators based on the type of vaccination. We are uniquely skilled at setting up logistical support systems like we do for brush fires. And I believe that's the main reason the mayor initially asked us to do this. So we would be trying to outsource the role of our uniformed people who are doing logistical support, and to a lesser degree, the clinicians that are providing the shots, because the region and probably the country, there is a huge shortage of clinicians that are able to provide the shots. Just a few weeks ago, Governor Newsom approved the expansion of the scope of practice for EMTs to give the shot, which means that now all our firefighters who are either EMT or paramedic can give the shot. So Today, the 5 other county sites, they're struggling to get clinicians, they're struggling to get volunteers, all the things that we've amassed over the past 10 months, they're trying to stand up in the past few weeks. So to your question, could we outsource it? It'd be very difficult to do so.
Can I kind of want to add something else to that. Is there's speculation that FEMA might do this in in a couple of weeks if the Biden plan is implemented. Even under that scenario, because of the agreements that we have with FEMA, wouldn't we be doing some of this anyway? Because that's what we do with FEMA.
That's correct, Madam President. Just last Friday, I was notified that FEMA would provide funding for firefighter overtime to provide vaccinations, as well as California, the state of California, provide funding through their Department of Public Health for firefighter overtime to do vaccinations. I'm not aware of any discussion that would take us out of the system. I am aware of discussion to provide overtime to increase the number of our members involved.
Yeah, I mean, I think that because of the way that we respond to national emergencies, local emergencies, we are sort of uniquely operationally capable of doing something like this and just starting it up and setting up something like the testing and the vaccination, because we do large scale emergency response. That's what we specialize in. So I think it was the right call to ask us to set it up. I think that, whether once it's set up, if we could transition it to somebody else is sort of, I think that's an open question still once it was operational. But we don't really have a workforce right now in the city that can do that. So we would need to identify that. And we need to have funding for it as well, because people are not going to do it for free. But thanks so much. Thanks so much for this discussion. Oh, yes, go ahead.
Oh, well, and so paramedics are not assigned to testing, correct?
We do have some medics involved in the COVID division.
But they're doing vaccinations?
The protocol requires the medics to actually draw the vaccine and provide the syringes.
Mm-hmm.
The medics and EMTs can actually do the shot, so we need both on-site medics and EMTs.
Okay. Well, I mean, I hope, I do believe, to President Ibarra's point, that hopefully by next week, we will have opportunities to have more federal funding. So, but thank you. I just wanted to get that information and see if there were opportunities to kind of just outsource that.
And
Thanks.
President Ibarra,
Yes.
the data that I was looking for was on the wall time report, which is B, because it only goes up to the year 2019.
Oh, okay. So you want more data from 2020 to the wall time report.
Right.
Got it. Okay. So we don't need a vote. We don't need a vote on 4A because it's a verbal report, and I think we exhausted that discussion, and we heard public comment. So moving on to 4C, which is a report by the department on the estimated completion timeline of redacted Recruit Academy data as requested by the independent assessor.
Can you all hear me? This is Chief Skelly, Recruit Services.
Yes. Good morning.
Hi, Madam President, Chief Terrazas, Commissioners. I am Steve Skelly, Battalion Chief, Recruit Services Section. Recruit Services have been requested to provide a report back to the Commission regarding the timeline to provide requested drill tower data to Sue Stengel from the Office of the Independent Assessor. The Office of the Independent Assessor requested 250 recruit files for redaction that span from Class 13-1 through Class 17-3. Recruit Services secured a responsible sworn member to assist with the redaction process. We've conducted training with the member, and he has completed the labor-intensive scanning process and has redacted all 250 files. We've provided all requested documentation, and we continue to cooperate with the Office of the Independent Assessor by providing clarity to documents upon their request. As of November 10th, 2020, full access to all data has been granted to the Office of the Independent Assessor. This is the end of my report. If there are any questions.
Thank you. That's all I want to say. Thank you so much. That's great news.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have anything further? Or do we have any public comments?
Double checking. No hands raised, 35 participants.
Okay, great. So we don't need to vote on that because it's a verbal. So 4D is report by the independent assessor and the department response to the relative to the Los Angeles Fire Department's audit of complaints of misconduct in 2019. So Ms. Stengel and
Sorry, Madam
morning.
President, just a quick question. Given that we have 10 minutes left, does it make sense to get into the meat of this report if we also have to have public comment at the end, or should we just continue the remainder to the next meeting?
We could continue it to the next meeting. I think that's a good idea. I just do really want to encourage all the commissioners to read the reports. They're very interesting. They've been pending for a while. I know that Sue Stengel provided, the independent assessor provided drafts of this to Commissioner Glazier and me, like in May or June, and then we waited for the department's response. Now we have the department's response. But some of the items in here do relate to some incidents that subsequent to the report received, some media attention. And so I know commissioners, I know Woods Gray referred to one of the incidents in here. So, Glazier and I were aware of it because we had a copy of the report. But now all the commissioners have a copy of the report. So I do encourage you to look at the variety of stuff that happens in the department and to see what the disciplinary system looks like. So that'll really encourage a robust discussion when we come back and consider this. Thank you. And so yeah, I think it's a good idea for that.
Madam President,
yes.
Is the board acting to continue items 4B, 4D, and 4E?
4B is being continued for 120 days. 4D and 4E will probably come back the next time that we convene.
Okay.
Noted. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then, so let's do that and then go straight to public comment if we have any public comments.
Let me double check.
Okay. Can we take a motion to move to continue 4D and 4E?
Do we need a motion?
Make a motion to continue 4D and 4E to next meeting.
Julie?
Yeah, I think that's cleaner to have a motion.
Okay, I
and
second
a vote.
that.
Ibarra?
Aye.
Glazier?
Aye.
Hara? Stand by.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Hara. Minberg?
Aye.
Woods Gray?
Aye.
Motion passes. We're continuing agenda items 4D and E to the next meeting, the next time we meet.
Thank you. Do we have public comments?
Checking. Let's see. No hand. Oh, there's one hand raised. Stand by. I've asked them to unmute, so I'm waiting for them to unmute because I don't.
Morning.
Good morning. What general public comment, sir?
Yes. Good morning, Madam President.
Good morning.
And Fire Chief Terrazas, everyone in attendance. My name is Robert Hawkins, representing the Stentorian organization. First, I would like to say Happy New Year to all. The Stentorian organization agrees with Dr. Martin Luther King that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. With that being said, a few months ago, the Fire Commission was made aware of a reconfiguration of the arson section. The Satorian organization opposed the reconfiguration for two reasons. Number one, arson is up 43% during the first 8 months in 2020. That's from a report from the Los Angeles Times. And number two, based on perception, it's important that we guarantee that this reconfiguration isn't of a retaliatory nature. Months ago, members of the arson, both sworn and civilian, made the Fire Commission aware of harassment and even stated, I'm in fear of retaliation. Since then, civilian staff have been relocated to a different office, and now we're talking about eliminating positions of arson investigators. We are asking the Fire Commission, the fire chief, to vet this plan out further, including members of arson, employee organizations, and the fire commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Do we have any other comments?
Checking. No, that was the only one, President Ibarra.
Okay, so I just want to reiterate that we are adjourning today in the memory of Captain George Roque, who we very unfortunately lost to COVID, and our department has been very impacted by this. So our thoughts and prayers are with his family, and may he rest in peace.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn in his memory.
And may I also add to the motion to adjourn in memory of former Councilmember Tom LaBonge, who served the city for many, many years, was somebody I was proud to call a friend, and also someone who I think, hopefully wherever he is now, he is able to join the fire department, which was his lifelong dream.
Yeah.
And,
thank you for that addition. I think we all join in that as well.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Until next time, thanks everybody.